After one of the most memorable Masters we have seen in some time, ahead of a new week on the PGA Tour, Keith Stewart joins us live right here on this Wednesday morning on the early line on SportsGrid for not one but two segments. One, of course, to recap what we saw on a Sunday afternoon at Augusta National Golf Club. And as you see, Keith live in Hilton Head right now for the RBC Heritage, another signature event on the PGA Tour this upcoming week as well. Keith, as always, we appreciate the time. Thanks for being here on TEL.
Ben, Donnie, I couldn't think of a better place to be on a Wednesday morning. I mean, last week was pretty good. Let's get into it.
Yes, it certainly was, Keith. As we saw, what a Sunday it was at Augusta. The ups and downs, the peaks and valleys, a final round at the Masters, really indicative of what Rory McIlroy has dealt with in trying to win that career Grand Slam finally, and his first ever green jacket. He was able to accomplish that on his 19th hole of Sunday in the playoff, defeating Justin Rose to complete the career Grand Slam, 11 years in the making, and finally call himself a Masters champ. Keith, you were our boots on the ground at Augusta all week long as you were following the action on Sunday, as everybody was watching Rory deal with those demons and finally put on the green jacket. What were you seeing? What was your reaction? What was the buzz and atmosphere like around Augusta?
Well, Ben, Donnie, it was the ultimate hyperbole overnight on Saturday. It was Bryson, it was Rory, and what it really turned into, I mean, who would have known at the turn when Rory's suddenly up 4 shots, and it looks like it's going to be another one of those snooze fest Sundays at Augusta National. Well, Rory didn't want to have it. He dunks the ball in the water on 13, and next thing you know, we have Ludwig, the kid, we have Justin Rose, 44 years old, we have Rory. They're all tied for the lead. It is absolutely madness. It's chaos. And, you know, the good and the bad of Augusta National. The bad is that you can't really follow the leaderboard. You have to be sitting in a position where one of those mechanical leaderboards lets you know when it's time to have the story unfold. And whether they show the clip on 18 of when the scores are posted and the crowd reacting because they're 5 holes away from the leaders, I mean, that is one of the most fabulous aspects of the grounds there, because you hear these roars coming around and it's almost like, you know, there's tanks coming over the horizon. You hear people yelling and you're saying, oh my God, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? And the anticipation and the anxiety, it was so over the top. You know, I don't know if it was one of the best Masters I've ever seen, but it was definitely one of the best Sundays at the Masters that I've ever seen.
Yeah, it is a unique experience. They tried to relay it through television where they show like one of the greens and you're just waiting for the red numbers, the black numbers to show up there. And then the wild cheers where you know that guy actually did an eagle, actually had a birdie, a par, or a double bogey at worst there where you hear the groans. But I do want to talk about Rory McIlroy because on Thursday, I had a ticket in for him to get a top 20. Not in the tournament, a top 20 on day number 1. He was cruising, Keith, on Thursday afternoon, then folded up shop late. And I said to myself, there is no way Rory goes to bed tonight, wakes up on Friday morning, and feels like he can win this Masters tournament because he probably already lost it. To rebound with a 66 on Friday and a 66 on Saturday, that's unbelievable. You talk about mental fortitude to be able to hold out. Rory was fantastic with that on the weekend.
Oh, he was unbelievable. I mean, he had to listen to his own words. He wanted to take it 72 holes, 1 hole at a time. Absolutely fantastic. And he knew, Donnie, that since Valhalla in 2014, when he won his last major championship, he's had 21 top 10s in the majors over those 11 years. I mean, that's a lot of times that he's been in the mix and he's made some mistakes. Now, I'm sure he wasn't happy about making 2 double bogeys, or maybe even making 2 more double bogeys in the final round and still winning. But you know what? The guy kept his head down and he kept going. It's kind of like the perseverance. You know, I'm not a huge Rory guy, but I got to give the guy a ton of credit. He believes in perseverance. He talks about it in the press room. And then, of course, he comes through. He makes 33s on his scorecards in 72 holes. 33s, guys, along with 4 double bogeys. It's insane. 2 6s, 2 7s there. If you told him that at the beginning of the week he was going to have 2 7s on his card, he'd absolutely say, there's no way I'm winning this thing. But he pulled it off, and it's a testament to the fact that over the last 11 years, when he's come close, he's always tried to keep himself in it.
And we saw Rory McIlroy become the first ever golfer to make 4 doubles or worse at the Masters and still put on that green jacket in Butler Cabin. That mental fortitude was tested on Sunday, and it seemed as though some of those mental skeletons in the closet might win the day. Rory did in the playoff hall on Sunday evening at Augusta. Keith, the first ever golfer to make 4 double bogeys or worse and win a green jacket, the 6th ever golfer to win the career Grand Slam. A victory on Sunday in finally putting on the green jacket. What does it do for Rory McIlroy's legacy in the history of this great game?
Well, 5 major championships, that puts him in the same spot with probably one of his heroes, Seve. It puts him in the modern spot next to Brooks at 5. Phil, he's chasing still. He's 1 short of Phil at 6. Arnold Palmer's at 7. We've got Tom Watson at 8 with a couple other guys. And the reason I bring this up, guys, is that if there was a year where you wanted like a 1,000-pound gorilla lifted from your shoulders and you were Rory McIlroy in really, really fine career form, it is these venues that we have coming up. Quail Hollow, he's won there 4 times, followed by Oakmont. Now, Oakmont, the U.S. Open, it was not his greatest in 2016. He missed the cut, but that's a bomber's paradise. We know that. He's got the skill set for that. He's got a zillion top 10s in the last decade in the U.S. Open, more than any other players that will be in the field. And then the next one, Royal Portrush, where he grew up in Northern Ireland. I mean, we could be talking about an actual Grand Slam without a ton of hyperbole, guys. If he continues to play like this, he, Bryson, Scotty, Xander, these guys are going to be a part of all the storylines for these next 3 major championships. And there's no doubt in my mind, now that he has this green jacket, he's going to play a little bit freer in these championships and not miss those 3-foot 9-inch putts. I think he's a serious threat to become more than a generational golfer.
2+ majors this year. You saw it right there, plus 160. That would be just one more. The career Grand Slam. How about the calendar Grand Slam at 95-1? Keith, we saw the letting out of emotions in that great burden and weight off of Rory's shoulders immediately on the 18th green in the playoff hole on Sunday. Maybe that will mean something for the remainder of this major championship schedule. Elsewhere on the PGA Tour, big week down in South Carolina. Keith previews the Heritage next. So Rory wins a green jacket for the first time in his career and completes the career Grand Slam. But the PGA Tour does not stop. A big event this week down in Hilton Head, South Carolina for the RBC Heritage. That's where Keith Stewart is live, joining us once again for a second straight segment here on the Early Line. Keith, let's start with the natural follow-up. How do these guys, after playing at Augusta in the year's first major, with all the pageantry and tradition in the stakes that we saw on Sunday, how do the best golfers in the world play at Augusta and then turn it around and keep that energy high for a new week on the PGA Tour?
Ben, it's a fantastic question, and it leads me right into Keith's keys for this week for Harbour Town Golf Links and for this signature event. Now, they have a no cut, so that gives them a little time, an extra time, with which to kind of carry their game through. Thursday, round 1, manage your energy, and then by the time you get to the weekend, I'm sure they're all recovered. But as when I look at the keys for this week, number 1 is how much energy did you spend at Augusta National? Like, what is your deficit? And a lot of these guys, although some played well, like a Xander Schauffele, he finished T8, but he was never really in contention. So he saved some energy. And Scotty talked about this in his press conference yesterday. He goes, I was in it for a while. And when I was in it, I am expending a lot of mental and physical strain. And I'm glad that at the end, well, if it wasn't going to work out, that, I could kind of cruise. Teddy and I were like, we're just going to cruise, in here, get done and get out of here and get on to Hilton Head. So it is a major concern. Another thing, though, is that it's kind of ironic, but 10 of the last 13 winners here at the RBC have played in the Masters. So maybe the strain and stress of the whole thing, if you're not in contention, is a very good warm-up for what they need to do down here, which gets me to my third Keith's keys, which is that you have to be an absolutely stellar iron player. We know Augusta National is a second-shot golf course, and these guys are going to need that same skill down here. The greens are the second smallest on the PGA Tour behind Pebble Beach at an average of 3,700 square feet. You got to be good with your targets, coming from the fairways and maybe just off on the side.
Yeah, it's a beautiful golf course. I've walked it before, but I do like the PGA Tour also, Keith. Back in the day, it was like, okay, you're playing the Masters, you take the next week off, which was the RBC. Now being one of those preeminent golf courses that they sort of up the ante, we get some really good guys on the leaderboard just to start the week. But as you said, it's a unique golf course. It has some iconic images like the lighthouse there. How's the weather this weekend and maybe an impact on that advantage?
Well, Donnie, as you can see, it's a little breezy this morning. Now it's 10 a.m. Eastern time. That yesterday afternoon I did a hit, and it was really windy. And it's going to be windy this afternoon when I'm with Carver and the guys. We are at the tip of the island. We're at the southern tip of Hilton Head. So even if you're using your weather apps and you're trying to bet from home and you're like, oh, it doesn't look that windy, 8 to 10 miles an hour, you know what? The weather app's not sitting here. My hair is, okay? Guys, it's blowing. It's going to be beautiful out here. But the fact of the matter is that sunny and 65 degrees at the tip of this island is going to be a little bit of a challenge because these are corridors here, and guys are going to have to hit their targets and manage their trajectory with that golf ball with the wind that we're going to feel all weekend.
So, Keith, we asked a similar question, the response, the bounce back from Augusta down to Hilton Head for the RBC Heritage last year when we focused on one guy who had just won his second green jacket in a 3-year span, and Scottie Scheffler, who decided to still play in the RBC Heritage and then won the RBC Heritage at Harbour Town Golf Links in 2024. No Rory in the field this week, and thus Scottie Scheffler a very short favorite in front of everybody else at plus 360. Scottie Scheffler in contention on Sunday at the Masters, but not really in it late as you shared. What's your outlook for Scottie atop the odds board to hopefully being atop the leaderboard come Sunday afternoon?
Ben, we live in a world of recency bias, and everyone wants Scottie to win 9 more times this year like he did last year. I think they forget the fact that that was pretty historic. And I've been guilty of this myself, thinking that Scottie is just going to snap back into it. But at his presser yesterday, he definitely has the same sentiment that we have heard for about 6 weeks out here on tour, and that is, I'm just not happy with where my game is at. Now, we know that Scottie can find it probably pretty quickly, but that miss left with the driver that he had at Augusta that he's had all Q1 is, if that's still here, that's going to be a problem because he's going to be rattling around the pines. And he's just not been as sharp. And there's a couple other guys that I do like that I think are a little bit sharper. And you know what? They're not as scared of Scottie right now. And I think he's aware of that too.
30 seconds, Keith. Give us the early leans here on the early line for this week on the tour.
For the second week in a row, guys, I'm going with Xander, right? He was 8th at Augusta, and he spent no energy. The approach game is really, really solid right now, and this is a well-rounded test, and he is one of the most well-rounded golfers in the world. Second guy, Wyndham Clark, last year, top third here, and he missed the cut at Augusta, plus 5,500. I know Donnie loves those odds, right? He's always good on positional golf courses, just like RBC Heritage.
Keith, we appreciate the time. Enjoy the week at Hilton Head. More on the early line next.